Hello, my friend. Let me ask you something personal, but important. Have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I'm just getting old? Maybe you've sighed at the wrinkles, noticed the gray in your hair, felt invisible when you walk into a room. If that sounds like you, I want you to pause, take a deep breath, and let me tell you something that might surprise you. You might actually be a beautiful older woman, more beautiful than you realize. And I'm not just saying that to make you feel good. I'm a doctor with over 20 years of experience in aging, wellness, and human psychology. I've sat with thousands of women over the years, listened to their fears, their doubts, and their deepest insecurities. And you know what? So many of the women who told me they look old or said they feel invisible were actually remarkably attractive, not just in their appearance, but in a deeper, more magnetic way that science and real life can explain. So today, I'm going to show you. These signs are backed by biology, psychology, and real-world experience. And trust me, they have nothing to do with Botox, expensive creams, or looking like you're 30 again. In fact, these signs often appear more strongly with age, not less. By the end of this video, my goal is simple: to help you see the truth about yourself, to recognize your value, your glow, your beauty, no matter what your birth certificate says. Are you ready? Let's begin with something powerful. You may not think of yourself as confident. Maybe you're modest, quiet. You don't seek attention. But let me tell you what I see, what people around you might feel but never say out loud. You walk into a room and something shifts. There's a calmness about you, a steadiness, a quiet confidence that comes not from ego, but from experience. You've lived. You've endured heartbreak, joy, pain, triumph. And now, whether you realize it or not, your presence speaks louder than your words. Let me share something interesting from neuroscience. As we age, certain regions in the brain associated with social awareness and emotional intelligence actually improve. Older adults, especially women, often develop better empathy, stronger intuition, and more regulated emotional responses. All of that radiates through your facial expressions, your eye contact, your posture. You don't fidget. You don't chase approval. You simply are. And that is incredibly attractive, more than glossy skin or full lips could ever be. Studies show that nonverbal cues like calm posture, stable eye contact, and slower, deliberate movement are strongly associated with attractiveness, especially in women over 50. Why? Because they signal emotional security and trustworthiness, two of the most attractive traits at any age. So the next time someone says, you have a peaceful energy, or you seem grounded, don't brush it off. That's a clear sign of your beauty showing up in the world. There's something about the eyes of an older woman that no makeup, no filter, no cosmetic procedure can ever replicate. They hold stories. They hold truth. They hold life. When someone looks into your eyes, they don't just see color or shape. They see decades of laughter, love, loss, survival, and wisdom. And let me be clear, this is not about the absence of wrinkles or whether you wear eyeliner. This is about the softness, the warmth, and the depth that lives behind your gaze. There's a term in psychology for this kind of visual expression: emotional transparency. It's when your eyes reflect your soul, not your stress. As we age, we often develop a gentler way of seeing the world. We've learned not to judge so quickly. We've become better at listening with compassion. We've softened, not in weakness, but in strength. That softening shows up in your eyes, even if your eyelids are a little heavier, even if the sparkle isn't as bright as when you were 25. There's a deeper beauty now, the kind that doesn't fade. Let me share a true story from my clinic. A man once told me, "Doc, I think I've fallen in love with my neighbor. She's 68, but when she smiles at me, her eyes, they feel like home. Isn't that beautiful?" He wasn't talking about her figure. He wasn't describing high cheekbones or a perfect nose. He was drawn to the emotion in her expression, the gentleness, the sense that she's been through life and come out kind. Research from the University of California found that facial expressiveness, especially around the eyes, becomes more meaningful as people age. Older adults who show warmth and sincerity through eye contact are often rated as more attractive and trustworthy, even more than younger adults with smoother faces. So if people often tell you things like, "You have kind eyes," "You look like someone I can trust," or even, "You remind me of someone who really mattered to me," you might not realize it, but that's your beauty shining through. Let's talk about something simple, but powerful: your smile. Not the one you pose for in photos. Not the polite smile you give at the grocery store. I'm talking about your real, unfiltered smile. The one that shows up when you're talking about your grandkids, or recalling a funny memory, or just appreciating the little things in life. There's a kind of beauty that only comes from a smile that's been earned. A smile that says, I've lived through storms, and I still choose joy. That kind of smile? It lights up a room, not because it's perfect, but because it's genuine. You see, in today's world, we're bombarded with artificial expressions, plump lips, forced grins, smiles that don't reach the eyes. But when a woman over 60 smiles from the heart, people notice. There's a warmth, a safety, a glow that you simply can't fake. As we age, the muscles around our mouth and eyes may change. But here's the good news. Neurologically speaking, a genuine smile, what scientists call a Duchenne smile, still triggers a powerful emotional reaction in others. It activates the reward centers of the brain, increasing trust, connection, and even attraction. People are drawn to authenticity. They're drawn to joy. And a real smile, wrinkles and all, is one of the most attractive human signals at any age. So the next time you laugh without holding back, when your eyes crinkle and your cheeks lift naturally, remember, you're radiating a kind of beauty the world desperately needs more of. You don't have to look young to look beautiful. You just have to look alive. And that's exactly what your smile shows. There's a kind of beauty that doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't shout. It doesn't chase compliments. It simply walks into a room and is felt. If you're an older woman who carries herself with grace, not because you're trying to impress anyone, but because you know who you are, then believe me, you are more attractive than you realize. You see, grace isn't just about how you move. It's about how you exist. Grace is when you choose dignity over drama. It's when you listen more than you speak. It's when you treat others with respect, even when the world hasn't always been kind to you. And this, my friend, is irresistibly beautiful, especially in a world that often rewards noise over depth. Body language experts have long studied the correlation between posture, movement, and perceived attractiveness. Here's what they've found. People who move with deliberate, calm motion are perceived as more elegant and confident. Women who maintain good posture, head high, shoulders relaxed, are seen as strong and self-assured, regardless of age. And older adults who walk with purpose and presence are often described as commanding the room, without saying a word. Now, maybe you've never thought about how you walk, how you sit, how you move your hands when you speak. But over time, life has likely refined your movements. You've become more intentional, less rushed, less eager to prove anything. And that's captivating. Let me give you a real-life example. I once had a patient. Let's call her Helen. She was 73, and when she came in for her checkup, the nurses whispered, "Wow, she's so elegant." But she wasn't wearing expensive clothes. She wasn't wearing makeup. She just moved with confidence, kindness, and composure. When she sat down, she crossed her legs slowly, looked me in the eye, and smiled with warmth. I remember thinking, this is what beauty looks like at 73. It's not loud, it's not flashy, but it's unforgettable. So if people often describe you as elegant, classy, or put together, even when you feel tired or casual, that's a sign, a big one. You're showing the world that beauty after 60 doesn't disappear. It just evolves into something deeper. Here's something you may not realize. Self-acceptance is magnetic. When a woman reaches the point in her life where she no longer chases trends, no longer apologizes for her age, and stops comparing herself to younger versions of herself, something magical happens. She becomes truly beautiful. There is something incredibly attractive about a woman who's comfortable in her own skin, who dresses for comfort and joy, not approval, who wears her silver hair with pride, not shame, who shows up exactly as she is, wrinkles and all, and says, "This is me, and I'm enough." Let's talk about this from a psychological angle. A major study from Harvard University found that self-compassion and authenticity become stronger predictors of perceived attractiveness as people age. Why? Because as we grow older, physical appearance naturally changes. But when a person radiates peace with who they are, it creates a halo effect, where people are drawn to them, even if they don't fit conventional beauty standards. Think about it. Have you ever seen someone who isn't traditionally attractive, but there's just something about them? They feel real. They seem centered. You feel safe around them. That's what being comfortable in your own skin does. It frees you. And freedom is beautiful. Let me tell you what I often say to my patients. You don't have to fight time. You just have to own your space in the world. When you stop trying to erase who you are and start embracing it, you don't just feel better. You look better. You become radiant in a way no anti-aging cream could ever deliver. So if you find yourself smiling at the mirror more than you used to, wearing clothes that make you happy, not the fashion magazines, laughing at your quirks instead of hiding them, that's a clear sign. You're not just aging, you're thriving. And that kind of inner beauty, it shines brighter than anything else. Let's talk about something that's hard to define, but impossible to ignore: feminine presence. Not the kind that's based on fashion trends or youth, Not the kind you see on magazine covers or social media filters. I'm talking about the kind of femininity that only time can create. If you're an older woman who has grown more emotionally intelligent, more empathetic, more tuned into the world and to others, then you have something far more powerful than surface-level charm. You've cultivated a deep, authentic femininity, the kind that cannot be faked. Let me explain what I mean. In your younger years, femininity might have been defined by outward signs, hair and makeup, a certain dress size, how much attention you got from others. But over time, those definitions evolve. You no longer need validation to feel like a woman. You don't perform for approval. You simply exist as yourself. And this version of femininity? It's richer, it's wiser, it's more intuitive, more nurturing, and deeply rooted in real strength. Did you know that as estrogen naturally declines with age, women often shift emotionally in ways that promote greater leadership, resilience, and clarity? It's a phenomenon researchers call the postmenopausal advantage. In other words, many older women become more powerful emotionally, socially, and mentally, and that kind of strength, when paired with kindness, becomes deeply attractive. It's not about seduction. It's not about being girlish. It's about the quiet magnetism that says, I know who I am. I don't need to chase anything. I am whole. And trust me, people feel it. In conversations, in your relationships, even when you simply walk into a room. If others describe you as elegant, soothing, wise, or even beautiful in a different way, that's a clear sign. You've stepped into a timeless, graceful femininity that transcends age. And it's one of the most quietly powerful and beautiful qualities you can ever develop. Now this one might surprise you. You may not think of yourself as inspirational. You're just living your life, trying your best. But let me tell you what I've seen over 20 years of working with women over 60. The most beautiful older women are the ones who lift others just by being themselves. They've survived loss and still show love. They've faced aging and still show up with joy. They've been told they're invisible, but they shine anyway. These women inspire others, not by preaching, not by trying to be perfect, but by simply living with courage, grace, and quiet strength. Let me tell you about one of my patients, Marion. She's 79. She walks with a cane now. She lost her husband. She's had 2 hip replacements. But when she talks about life, her eyes sparkle. She volunteers at a local food bank. She bakes for neighbors. And when I asked her once how she stays so positive, she smiled and said, "What's the point in being bitter? I'm still here. I still have love to give." I remember thinking, this woman is stunning, not because of how she looks, but because of how she lives. That's what true beauty is. And if you've ever had someone say to you, "You inspire me. I hope I age like you. You make me feel calmer just being around you," then you are beautiful, even if you don't realize it yet. True beauty always leaves a mark on others, not because of how you looked, but because of how you made them feel. And older women, when they embrace their journey, have a way of touching lives more deeply than they know. So if you've lived with strength, if you've shown compassion, if you've kept going, even when life tried to break you, you are not just a beautiful older woman. You are a light, and that light is more powerful than anything time can take away. So now that we've gone through these 7 powerful signs, let me ask you again, have you ever looked in the mirror and thought, I'm just getting old? If you have, please remember, you are not just anything. You are a living, breathing story, a soul wrapped in strength, a face that's held laughter, tears, love, and loss, a body that's carried you through decades of life, and all of that. Every wrinkle, every silver strand, every soft line. That is not a sign of fading beauty. It is a sign of evolving beauty. You don't need to be 25 to be beautiful. You don't need perfect skin. You don't need approval from the world. You just need to see yourself the way others do, through the eyes of truth, not insecurity. You are more radiant than you know, more magnetic than you realize, more inspiring than you'll ever be told. And if you take just one thing away from this video, let it be this. You are still beautiful. You've just lived so long that you've forgotten how rare your kind of beauty really is. If this video made you feel seen, if you thought to yourself, maybe I am more than I've given myself credit for, then please, red heart, leave a comment below. Pushpin, tell me which of these 7 signs you see in yourself. Loudspeaker, share this with another woman over 60 who might need a reminder of her beauty. And most of all, take this moment to own your worth, because the world needs more older women who know they're beautiful, who walk with pride, who don't apologize for their age, but celebrate it. Thank you for spending this time with me. As a doctor, as someone who has seen the real truth behind aging, let me tell you from the bottom of my heart, you are not fading. You're blooming in a season the world is finally ready to appreciate. Stay radiant.